referenced multiple times Bavinck as the author that's influenced you the most, person who's given you the magnetic points. But let's help our audience. Let's introduce our audience further to him. Who is this man?
Yes. So the first thing to say
Bavinck.
is, yes, if you've heard of the name Bavinck, and you may not have done, he's not the Bavinck that often people talk about. So Herman Bavinck was J.H. Bavinck's uncle. I'm talking about a guy called J.H. Bavinck, who was the nephew of the more famous Herman Bavinck, who wrote these Reformed dogmatics. So this is the nephew. He was born in 1895. He died in 1964. He was part of the Dutch Reformed Church, and he spent his years overseas, I suppose, between about 1919 and 1934 in Indonesia. He lectured in Java. And even then, he was really interested, going back to what we spoke about before, Travis, he was really interested in what it meant for indigenous expressions of the faith. And then in around the late 30s, he comes back to teach in Kampen in the Netherlands, and then finally at the Free University of Amsterdam, where he did some of his kind of most important theological work. I mean, he was always writing. So yeah, that's who he was. He was a missiologist and a missions lecturer. What's interesting about him, and where there's, I suppose, connection with people that we might know, is that his book, J.H. Bavinck's book, An Introduction to the Science of Missions, which was published in about 1961, that was the standard missiological textbook for seminaries, even in the States, for many years. And J.H. Bavinck very heavily influenced Ed Clowney at Westminster, and also a guy called Harvey Conn, who was a very famous missiologist. And the link there is that Tim Keller was taught by both Clowney and Conn. So there is a bit of a direct line from J.H. Bavinck through Clowney and Conn through to Keller. And I think you see a lot of, probably not explicitly, although, you know, Tim Keller, before he died, and we chatted about J.H. Bavinck quite a lot. And there's a bit of a Bavinck resurgence at the moment, whether that's the uncle or the nephew. But I think you see those kinds of family characteristics there. So yeah, that's an introduction to J.H. Bavinck.